There's something kind of fascinating, maybe possibly, and if you look at this image here, a little bit romantic about, you know, the arches under railways. And if you're curious about who owns those or what goes on in there, Ben's going to give us the full insight today, because it's changed a little bit, hasn't it, over the years, Ben? Tell us more.
Yeah, good morning to you. Welcome to Battersea. We're here in South London, and what you're looking at there is a view of London waking up, the trains rumbling overhead. And you might see that arch down the bottom left of your screen. We're in there, so come inside and let me show you what's inside, because you might be surprised, I was, to find all of this in an arch. You might expect that places like this are used as sort of lock-ups or garages, but no, lots and lots of businesses, thousands of businesses across the country use places like this for all sorts of different things. This is a florist business. Just down the road from here, there's a gym, there's a bakery as well. And Paul is the boss. Paul, morning to you. You've got this floristry business here. And we're talking about this because you've got a new landlord, haven't you, this week? Network Rail has sold off the arches. You've got a new one. First of all, just tell me why you moved here, because you used to be in central London.
Yeah, I was in Mayfair for 27 years in Shepherd Market, and sadly the rent just became too much for us and we had to move out. It was a real wrench for me, but it was also an opportunity for the business to grow, and these two arches were available, and so I was very keen to move into them. It was a bit of a culture shock, but they're wonderful to work in.
Yeah, a lot of people wouldn't expect to find something like this in an arch. Maybe you'd expect heavy industry, maybe a car mechanic, something like that. But no, a floristry business. What can you do here that you couldn't do in your other place?
Number one is the space, and secondly the temperature, because in a railway arch the temperature is pretty cold most of the year, which is wonderful for flowers, and having space for really for the business to grow, it's been wonderful.
So you've got a new landlord this week. This is, as we said, Network Rail selling off these railway arches, 5,000 or so of them. What are you worried about with your new boss that you've got to pay your rent to?
Obviously, it is an anxiety. We invested a lot of money when we moved in here, setting the place up. And this year, our lease comes up for renewal in December. And it is the anxiety of not knowing quite whether or not we'll be able to afford to stay or have both arches. And obviously, that affects business. So in your planning, it's an uncertainty, which we could well do without. So I'm anxious, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Paul, we'll talk a bit more later about some of those worries, but for now, thanks so much. Well, let me introduce you to Josie. You've been looking into the value of these sort of places for business, haven't you? And what's so great about them is they're a good way of small businesses getting started.
Yeah, absolutely. As Paul was saying, they're kind of perfect, flexible space. Businesses are able to be a bit messy in them, and that's perfect for kind of light industry. So businesses like manufacturers, repairers, and that's what the city really needs. It runs on those kind of businesses, so it's important that they stay in this central location.
So what's the danger, I suppose, with a new landlord who potentially, as Paul said, might put up the rent? What can it mean for business?
Well, it's a real risk, and I think we've seen across London and other cities in the UK too, the sort of forcing out of these kinds of businesses from the centre because of increasing rents and higher land values. So it's really important that these businesses remain, and it is a risk if they kind of the rents increase in these places as well.
Okay, for now, Josie, good to talk to you. Thanks very much. You might be able to see Sarah there. She's making some wreaths that are going down to the Ritz Hotel tomorrow, so we'll leave her to it. Yeah, I mean, that's a real challenge for these places. All sorts of different, vibrant businesses operating in these places. They are really worried about what that new landlord can mean, and certainly what plans that landlord has for all of these railway arches, which, if you're anything like me, I had no idea that all these sorts of businesses existed, and you might be able to hear the train rumbling overhead as I speak. More for me after 7 o'clock. See you then.
Right on cue, the train. We were all sitting here going, funny, there's no trains going overhead. Oh, and there's a dog getting by the fire. Nice. Ben, thanks very much. We're going to go...
This week, we're talking about the ownership of arches. You know, railway arches in England and Wales. They're homes to thousands of small businesses. Look at these gorgeous ones at Battersea in South London. It's rather romantic. It looks less romantic now. Now it kind of feels a bit more realistic, like the commute and everything. But a little earlier, it's all eerie, didn't it?
Yeah, and also,
story,
you kind of make assumptions about you might think, for example, the railways would own those areas underneath the arches, but they have changed ownership. And for those businesses that live and work underneath, Ben, that could be interesting.
Yeah, morning to you. Welcome to Battersea. You're absolutely right. And looking at that shot you can see there, and you might be able to hear that train going overhead right now. We're in the bottom left arch. You might be able to make it out. So if you come inside, I'll show you what's here. because you wouldn't expect necessarily to find a florist street business in here, but this is one of thousands of businesses that operate in railway arches up and down the country. But from this week, they've got a new owner. Network Rail has sold them off to a property developer, and it means that there is a new landlord for places like this. Sarah working on some of the centrepieces there for a hotel. They're going across to a posh London hotel tomorrow. Well, Paul is the boss here. Paul, morning to you. Good morning. Look, it's interesting. I didn't expect to find you guys down here, and you used to be in central London, didn't you? But you moved here. Why? Why a railway arch? Why is that good for what you do?
Railway arch. Two really good reasons. The space. We have a lot of space, and it's very cool, which is perfect for flowers. You know, the temperature is marvellous in here. Also, the location is great because we're very close to central London with a lot of space, which we need as florists.
Yeah, it's so interesting to find you here. Paul, we'll talk a little bit more later. But what they're concerned about, and Paul and many others, just next door, there's a gym. Further down from here, there's a bakery. They're worried about what that new owner could mean. Could the rents go up? Well, let's speak to Lenny, who's from Guardians of the Arches. Let me nip across here. Lenny, morning to you. What are you worried about when it comes to these arches? Because they're so important for people, aren't they? Lots of small businesses up and down the country operating in somewhere like this.
Well, I think it's primarily affordable rents. The Arches have historically always been a haven for affordable workspace for a wide variety of industries. And, you know, this isn't just about profits. This is about people. This is about communities and a way of life. And we're really, really concerned about what the future holds. Is a lot of these small businesses don't have the capability to grow and expand to meet the market rents.
Viewers might be able to hear the train above our heads, so we'll have a quick look at that, but while we're talking. It's amazing to find all of these businesses under the arches. What, 5,000 arches or so, 4,000 businesses. What do you want to hear from the new landlord? Because that company only set up this week, so a lot of kind of getting used to the new boss, really, isn't it?
Yes, I think what we need is tenants, and all commercial tenants will ask for the same. We want affordable workspace, we want security, and we want long leases. And we want a guarantee, really, from the new owners that they will protect the diversity of industries that occupy the arches. It's essential for us to protect our communities, and that's exactly why Guardians of the Arches has formed, and it's growing because tenants want to stand together with one voice and demand that this business as usual approach in driving the market rents up and driving service charges up stops, and it changes now.
Yeah, I can tell you're really passionate about this. Lenny, we'll talk more a little later, but let me introduce you to Adam, who's the boss of the company. You've just got all of these arches, haven't you? The company set up on Monday, so quite a baptism of fire for you. But you heard there from Lenny about wanting some sort of reassurance. What reassurance can you give to the businesses that operate here?
Well, the reason we bought the Arches, we think it's a fantastic combination of great property. It's close to city centres in the major cities of England and Wales. And even on top of that, the great thing is it's got a fantastic tenant base, as you've just been talking about, a really diverse mix of independent businesses, brilliant places to come. The first thing we want to do is to make sure we protect that. That's why we bought the business. The second thing we want to do is to invest in the estate. You'd be amazed, although it's fantastic property, there's 900 arches which are empty at the moment. And one of the first things we want to do, and we've started on it this week, is to start planning for how we bring those arches back into use by investing more cash into the estate.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, I mean, you know, I'm astonished that all of this is in here. Look, there's meeting rooms up here. It's a pretty slick operation. Many people wouldn't expect to find those sort of things here. What can you do with it? What will the money invest in?
Well, so the first thing is, as I say, is bringing empty arches back into use, and that's great because that's more space available for community organisations, for other businesses to sit alongside our current tenants. We can also make the estate better. So actually something we started doing this week is on day 4 yesterday, we approved 70 projects which are going to improve the physical appearance of the estate, taking graffiti away, removing dump cars, that sort of thing.
And what reassurance on rent? Because a lot of, Paul, Lenny included, worried that rents are just going to go up because it's a new boss. They come in and say, we want more money from you. What reassurance on that?
We're committed to providing value for money spaces for businesses, and we want these spaces to be places where our tenant base can exist and thrive in the future.
Okay, good to talk to you. Nice to see you both, Lenny and Adam there. So there you have it. This place, as we said, getting really busy. They've got a lot of deliveries that are going out today. Lots of work being done this morning. And it's fascinating to find all this stuff underneath the arches here in places that you wouldn't expect, in towns and cities across the country. Take a look at the arches next time you're on the railway. It's amazing what goes on beneath the railway tracks.